principles to live. And yeah, 100% hospital writ.
Awesome. And you're also a highly sought after keynote speaker. You've spoken to, I mean, outside of the EO stuff, what other kind of organizations? I've seen a lot of it posted. I just don't know exactly what they are. If you could share.
Yeah, I mean, so outside of EO, there's, I mean, a lot of corporations. It's so weird because I never planned this, but a ton of corporations in the last 6 months have been hiring me to go in and work with their sales teams. Because a lot of it, the mindset techniques, right? Like you have to master your personal mindset before you can master the mindset of your customers, right? So I've been doing a lot of corporate events and corporate lunch and learns, corporate trainings, specifically relating to that. I've done a lot of lately hotel chain conferences. Didn't see that coming. You'd think it'd be all healthcare. I've yet to speak at a healthcare conference. It's been all corporations and like anything relating to travel.
And you are also now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a business coach as well, and you have, it's several people. I've seen some really good reviews on that as well.
Yeah. So as I started to go into corporations more and work with the sales team, so it's interesting. The CEOs would hire me, CEOs or HR people would hire me to come in and work with their teams to grow sales or recruiting, right? Because it's actually the same thing if you're doing it right. And a lot of times we'd find out that it's the basic mindset techniques that the sales team needed. It's not necessarily having a playbook, which, like I've built sales playbooks for companies, but it was more about like, how do you get the salesperson to believe in themselves enough to stop the self-sabotage and resolve internal conflict? And then that actually spiraled into coaching them. So now I've got about 9 coaching clients. And then when I'm not doing that, I am doing the speaking route.
That's awesome. And I want to tell everybody, if you guys want to ask questions, go ahead and you can raise your hands or put it in the chat below. But also somehow, on top of all of that, you're also able to run a Landmark Makers, right, which is your HR company.
Yeah, so that's interesting. We haven't spoken recently about it. I do so little with that. It's almost ridiculous. But what I do instead is I work with a lot of like CEOs, and I teach them how to recruit effectively. And it goes back down to that corporate training and that corporate coaching. So I do a couple of searches a year, maybe if I really love you, but it's not the recruiting firm that it was about 2 years ago where that was our primary focus.
Very cool. And on top of all that, somehow you were able to also, I mean, this is just, I think you told me this once upon a time, right? Every time you like post on LinkedIn, you get like 1 million people to watch, to view your posts somehow, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I love LinkedIn. That's my baby. True story. It was about 6 months ago, and just so I haven't really hit it out of the park yet. But I posted one story and it got like 1.4 million organic views. And so that's like a lead gen baby of mine. I love me some LinkedIn.
So, yeah, so I know that John Sukup, you're on, right?
Yep.
You had some questions around those lines. Did you want to ask them now?
I guess I'm just, I guess my probably major question is, is there something maybe in the style of your writing or the size of your network or even maybe SEO tactics that you've used in order to get more visibility with your posts? Because I mean, I have like maybe 3,000 to 4,000 LinkedIn connections, and I've written articles on there for quite some time, and some get huge boosts and then others get very little. But I'd love some of your tips on how to get that visibility using that channel in particular.
Yeah, so here's the deal. I love that this is free-forming, by the way. This is great. So one of the styles in which I communicate tends to be pretty direct. So as long as everyone's cool with me being direct, I'm pulling up your LinkedIn right now, John, and I can provide you real-life actionable feedback rather than, I could do that or I could speak in bumper sticker, right? Like, make it how you want to make it. Like that doesn't do anything. And so I tend to be very cutthroat with it. So here we go. So you've got about 3,600 followers. I do like that you've got it bullet pointed out for your background, your experience. It looks like you've got decent enough tenure. You could probably get rid of the financial rep for Northwestern Mutual unless it's highly relevant to what you're doing now. John Hopkins, okay, you're brilliant. That's nice. I like your volunteer experience. Endorsements, you could probably kick that up a little bit. And you kick that up by giving them, right? So go to like your target market. So let's say you're trying to sell widgets to people 20 to 45 years old, right? Men in San Diego, just throwing that out there. So then what you do is you do a reverse search and you just go through profile by profile by profile, you endorse it. Your publications look solid. Did you have recommendations? You got 4, you've given 8. So seriously, that's the bread and butter for you. Just don't be afraid to ask some people that you've done business with to give you recommendations. Anybody in this lab that you've had an impact on, or that you've done like a free call to help somebody, complimentary calls. Every time I do something for free, you better get a recommendation, right? Or something like that. So don't be afraid to ask for the recommendations. But really, for me, what it comes down to is I do a style of posting. You guys are all familiar with copywriting, and my copywriting is like 101 stuff. Like, I'm not a copywriter at all. But what I will do is I started off with a very compelling sentence, and then I tell a story. So it has an A, B, and a C. Rarely do I put in posts, or not posts, pictures or videos. I know that it's starting to get more popular, but for me, it's all long form typing. And I'm not doing it as an article, I'm doing it as a physical post. Anything related to HR sales typically works for me. And then every single time somebody responds to me, or they like something or they comment on it, I respond immediately to what they said. So like for your Gabriel Burner on your last post, even though you did respond like, good point, Gabriel, you know, my apprehension for survey data is a ground truth. First of all, you've got to be brilliant because I don't even understand that. But don't be afraid to go back and hit like to Gabriel's stuff, because then it'll make him be like, oh, he liked it. Oh, and he left a comment. And then if you ask more questions to get them to talk more, it boosts the engagement to their second tier network. So you can look at your analytics on that post and it'll tell you what your target market actually is. So like, I'm just going to click on one on my profile. I posted November 2nd, 47 like 19 comments. So nothing extraordinary in this one. But when you look at the analytics, it got like 4,800 views. Again, nothing extraordinary. But here's where they come from: Entrepreneurs Organization, a book publishing company, the CF Foundation, and the titles are CEO and HR people from LA. Okay, so let's take a look at what that means. That means that if I want to post anything similar to that, I need to do it to go live during a time that is important to people in LA. So about 9 a.m., right? I need to word it like a CEO or an executive director is going to read it. And I need to make sure that it's entrepreneurial in spirit and it has like that underdog mentality, right? You know, how do you see something that nobody else in the world sees but you as an entrepreneur? So that right there tells me exactly what I need to post next time, because it tells me who my market is.
Oh, that was
that's great.
What else
no,
y'all have?
That's great stuff. Absolutely. And I've done a lot of those things myself. And,
your LinkedIn's not bad, dude. Give yourself credit.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, just so you know, Kaylin, like John in particular here, he's a solopreneur, right? He has a consulting agency where basically he trains people on artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Of course he's smart. There we go.
Yeah. So the idea is that you have to he has to like make himself into a thought leader in that space so that more people are going to want to of course hire him, right? And that's what we've been working on, making him into a thought leader. We've been doing some PR stuff and others, but you know, LinkedIn was one thing I think he can really benefit from. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know this stuff about, you know, looking to do this during the time frame that, you know, LA, you know, entrepreneurs are online and that kind of stuff.
That's something I never knew either. So, I mean, I knew that certain days, like I think they say Tuesday or like Thursday are days and more people spend time on LinkedIn. I've heard that before, but I never really considered the timing of the post, because I guess I never really knew how long it took for me to make a post on LinkedIn for it to show up on other people's, you know, pages when they log in. Maybe it's instantaneous.
So 98% of my posts I'm writing while I'm on the elliptical at the gym, bored out of my mind, and it's the random thoughts that come to my mind. Like today, I think my post, or like I'm bragging, because I have an ego and I don't apologize for it, right? So like mine today was like top 5 reasons your sales team isn't motivated. I'm like, I just typed it up real quick and then I hit send. And, you know, I'm at like, I don't know, like 3,500 views right now. And it shouldn't take a lot of time. What matters is if you're going for AI stuff, and I'm not trying to discredit your field of work. You just need to know, like, I didn't even graduate college, right? So like your brain is here and I'm still like right here in this. So I say AI stuff because I could never recap what Gene said. Okay. So that being said, if that's where you're going as an authority and an industry leader in said space, then every post make it something about AI and treat it like it's fun. Like, hey, and if you're connecting, I don't know who your target market is, but like put it in the words of the target market. Confused about, let's say I'm your target market, which I'm probably not, but let's just go with it. Then you'd be like, hey, confused what this term means? It simply means this. Here's a story about somebody else who is also confused and how we help them understand it. And then don't put a video, don't put a picture, just write, and the story begins, has a middle, ends, answers a question that your target market's having. For the people who hire me to help with their sales teams and help them to understand, sales, hey, here's 5 reasons your team isn't motivated. Because why? I know the people in my market care why their team isn't motivated.
Right. No, I agree with that. That's great stuff. I think if anything, another tidbit of advice that I gleaned from what you just said there was I tend to be somewhat of a verbose writer, maybe even talker too. So I think getting it simplified is also probably something that I could strive for to improve readership.
Unless you're talking to other brilliant people, then by all means be brilliant, because that's how you shine. And to the point, I have a really good friend. He sold his last company for like $37 million. He's had it for like 3 years. And he is ridiculously AI smart. Like his book came out, I'm like, I should Google it real quick because I don't even know how to pronounce it. But we love him because he's so smart, and like that's his advantage, and it's okay. So you'll find it.
Yeah, and I tell them all this all the time too, right? Really know your audience and who you're speaking to, right? If you're talking to Kaylin, no offense, Kaylin, but if you're talking to Kaylin, you're going to want to use some simpler words versus, less technical, put it into easier terminology versus if you're talking to somebody that's, a master in that space. So absolutely. All right. So Josh, I'm going to call on you next.
Yeah. So, wow. The LinkedIn stuff's really interesting because for the most part, I've ignored it. And I'll be honest with you, I use it, but I haven't really given it a lot of thought because it's only been used in my circles for career recruiting, to try to recruit me or vice versa. So that's interesting. So I just basically commented in there that I was really going to have to reevaluate my LinkedIn because I have like old positions and things that don't really matter to what I do anymore. So that was interesting.
What's your last name, Josh?
I don't want to tell you.
Okay.
I'm messing. I'm messing.
You can't clear your LinkedIn if you don't get help from somebody who knows it, but okay.
No. I'm messing with you. Yeah, so the last name is Frazier, Frazier.
Okay.
Josh. Yeah,
You want me to look at it or no?
Yeah, go to it.
All right, let's do this. Are you a chief investment advisor? Where are you from?
So I am from Mississippi. So I founded a small tech company that does education-based software.
Is it called Capture?
It's called Capture.
All right, I just found you then.
That's quick.
Yeah, okay. So it wouldn't hurt you if you had a more relevant background. Is that relevant background where you live now?
I don't know. So you mean like relevant background is in like the information? Let me look.
No, the picture. You've got a picture of like a torch. It's really pretty.
No, yeah. So where I live is pretty much that would not exist.
Does your target market live in the city with the torch?
Yeah. So I have targeted those areas. No, I haven't really thought much about the picture, honestly.
Well, obviously, right? It's okay. Yeah. I haven't looked at mine recently either. Yeah, I mean, so you've got a very good basic profile. Like I get where you're from. I get what you've done. I have no idea anything about your company though. So like LinkedIn, the big picture, guys, is like LinkedIn is nothing more than lead gen, right? So like, for example, you have founder Capture. I'm part of a small team working to make student intervention better. Something tells me that's not really what you're up to now. And even if it was, I don't understand what you do. And I don't understand it in a way that has any call to action for me to reach out to you. So that simple thing. And you can totally use mine as like a dovetail to that. So like if you click on mine, I basically tell you my personal mission, what you can get by being connected with me and why it would be relevant. So, and don't be afraid of bullet points. It doesn't need to be paragraphs. Nobody reads paragraphs.
Definitely. That's really good advice. I'm looking at your profile now. So yeah, I can see some big
You can
differences.
write me a recommendation for that. No, I'm kidding.
Definitely.
Good. If you have any other questions, just IM me. I've got your back.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next up is Anant.
Hey, Caitlin, I have a couple questions. One is, how long did it take you to get some organic success on LinkedIn in terms of a time frame? And the second thing is that, you know, in my business, leaving non-compete clauses, geographic restrictions, et cetera, are pretty common. So we have to kind of operate under the radar when we start new companies or want to leave. How do you kind of propose people do that without, you know, making a big, I guess, splash or flying under the radar to get where you need to get?
Okay, so I'm not an attorney. So all I can do in this situation is tell you an example. So I have a coaching client, this is hilarious, and he has a very strong non-compete. Very strong. Well, here's the deal. He has a non-compete against finding, like, going out and selling his services to another business, not the customers. So we're working with him to create thought leader content to go after the customers, not the clients. And the thought is that when you start having engaging conversations with your customers, you just back end ask them, hey, where do you guys do said business that he runs? They give you the competitors. And then eventually the second his non-compete's up, he's built enough of a network that he can just go after it. And he knows his competition and why they're better. So it's more of a strategic thing. Not sure if that addresses it entirely, because yours might be something. And guys, if I don't know something, I'm just going to tell you.
Well, the thing is, right now I have multiple companies and multiple LinkedIn profiles, but I don't have one for my most recent adventure. And I'm contemplating putting it out there, but I know that it'll be sniffed out very quickly. So I kind of have to get all my ducks in a row before I do it.
Yeah, be strategic. And if it's going to get sniffed out, make another one. Better yet, like, choose a friend, pay your friend $100 to use their name and use it like that, and say that friend is your PR rep.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now, actually.
So you answered your own question. If any of you guys see Lisa doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, Feng, it looks like Linda's not on tonight, but I know she had some questions around hiring. Did you want to ask any of those questions, or did you want me to try to express them?
Yeah, I can. I'm not sure what kind of question she want to ask, but we'll check with her. Yeah, she has meeting with other people today. Yeah, she posted something on LinkedIn and tried to hire the right person, but lots of unrelated person, kind of like not qualified people, reached out. That's her. I think that's probably her question.
Yeah, just how to find the right person, right, without spending, like, you're the HR expert here, Kaylin, and like, how do you weed out, I guess, all of the, I don't know, even if you have some tips on like what are the right questions, or like, how do you weed out those people that they have maybe a really good profile, but you know, they're just not the right person for the job?
Okay, so small distinction. I'm not technically HR, I'm recruiting. And it's a butthead thing, right? So when I say I'm recruiting, what that essentially means is that I've created the sales systems and processes to snatch the candidates from the clients, right? So I do the weird stuff behind the scenes. I don't deal with paperwork. You don't want me to deal with your paperwork. So I got to make that tiny distinction. If they're coming from an HR office, they're going to think I've lost my mind. And that's cool, they can. So when you ask me, check this out, guys, and I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, right? So I've written 1 binder. This gets fun. 2 binders. I'm not making this up, people. 3.
Whoa.
Hold on, we're not done. There's a couple pages in there, but that's kind of worthless. I didn't know that one was almost empty. And then these leaflets. Okay, so in all these binders is 387 pages on how to recruit somebody and sniff out the losers from the high achievers. That's not an hour-long web call, right? I do have an online course on it. It's like $200. You can buy it, like not even trying to upsell you. But if you really want some meat in that, that's the direction to go. If you want some couple snippets, so when you create an ad, have the ad say specifically what you want. What I'm understanding from that question is it's more of a cultural thing, not a technical thing. Because technical things, you know, if you want somebody who understands AI, you can weed that out pretty quickly with a couple hardcore technical questions on a survey, right? But then how do you understand the cultural and if they're going to stay with the company? And my trick for that is you ask 2 questions at the beginning of every pre-screen candidate call. And do not pick up the phone if their resume is not perfect. So if you're looking for an admin, okay, I'm looking to hire an administrative assistant, executive assistant. If they have one frickin' punctuation mark off on their resume, I am not picking up the phone to talk to them. Why? Because if they can't sell me on how great they are with details getting into the interview, they ain't gonna care about what they're gonna do with the details with my customers. With a salesperson, you best believe I will tell them to call me at 10:32 a.m. for their call, and I'm gonna see, number 1, if they're punctual. Number 2, I'm not gonna answer the phone. Why? Because salespeople 99% of times are going to be leaving voicemails, and I need to know that the voicemail that counts that's going to change their life is going to be the best voicemail they've ever left, okay? You weed out a ton of people just by those tiny details right there. But then you actually get them on the phone, and there's 2 things I always ask, and I ask it right away, you know, like, hey, how are you? Okay, cool. What interested you in this position? Blah, 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 all the stuff nobody really cares about, right? Because that's bumper sticker talk. And I say, what are 3 things you like about your current position? What are 3 things you do not like? And here's what they do. They tell you what they're looking for in a job and what they're not looking for. And if your company doesn't align with that, it's not a fit, say good day.
Wow, that's a very good insight. Thank you.
No problem.
By the way, Josh said so far the female guests have been killing it over the male guests. So apparently,
Damn right. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You know, we had Lisa's song setting on.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. So that was one of our other female guests that was popular as well. So, all right, next up is Monta. And if you guys, just really quick, if you guys also want to tell her maybe really quick what you do as well, that might be helpful.
Sure. Hey, thanks for coming on. You are totally killing it. This is amazing information. I guess just to tell you a little bit about, I've got an app called By Day that allows you to see everything that you need to do on a single screen and just kind of brings everything together and works together, et cetera, just bringing a lot of organization to your life.
I like it.
Use it every day, and it's actually a really good tool. Just
Okay, awesome.
Little plug for you, Monta. Keep going.
Thanks. No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I said just keep going. I just wanted to put that little plug in there for you.
Thank you. So I love the advice about basically kind of staying in your lane, doing what you know, and then just kind of rocking it. But I also love what you said about on your LinkedIn profile, identifying why you should connect with me. You know, what draws this person to want to actually connect or, you know, get something? What do you offer? And I just had a question about how do you do that if you've got a product like the one that I just described. Let's say you're putting information out about that, but that's not necessarily your target market. Are you trying to get those people who are not your target market to reach out and connect with you? Or are you really just trying to kind of, again, stay in that lane and garner just those users and not delve outside of those? And if you are trying to go outside of that, how do you kind of draw those people in when it's outside of your target market? Again, when you're talking about a product or a service here.
So that's like 3 questions in one. Let's start with 1 and we'll work to 3. I got you.
Okay, cool.
But let's do this. So give me your first question, the most important one first, and we'll go from there.
So really, when you've got a product, how do you draw those audience, the audience to want you to be connected with them when they're outside of your target?
Why do you want to connect with them if they're not relevant?
I guess I wouldn't. What if? Yeah. I guess I'm thinking if the market is limited and not getting those who are outside, I guess it probably doesn't make as much sense.
Well, so here's the deal. It's interesting, right? If you're going for sheer amount of followers, we can go to some remote city in Montana, just picking on Montana because I've got friends there. And I think somebody from Propellant is in Montana. So
Lisa, who is on a plane right now. So
yeah, and I love her. So that's where Montana came from. So Okay, so if you want just strictly amount of followers, you can go through and add a bunch of people that aren't relevant to look more impressive, right? But it's like, it comes down to sales 101, right? And the question I get asked, I cough a lot. The question I get asked a lot when I do sales training is we come up with objections, right? And trust me, this is going to circle back. So we come up with objections and people are like, I was asking, hey, how many objections do you have to sales? And everyone's like, oh, there's thousands. Okay, there's not. If you boil it down, there's typically for every single company in the world, like 7 objections, okay? In one form or another, 7. Okay, and then somebody always raises their hand and they're like, what about no need? That's an objection. No, it's not. That just means that you're wasting your time on something that doesn't matter. To me, if you're trying to connect with people that aren't in your target or they don't provide relevant value, that's a no need objection. And wouldn't it be better worth your time to find your highest performing, highest paying activities and go for those? So unless there's something that I don't understand, like maybe the people you're trying to connect with could give you social media presence or PR or something like that, or maybe investment capital, that's different. It's not your target customer market, but it's your target market for some reason.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think probably I was thinking of that in that, you know, maybe they don't need the product for some reason, but could benefit me in some other way. But no, it makes complete sense.
Then know how you want them to benefit you, and it'll make then the power will come.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. And the other question was just whether, well, the other one was whether I should pursue those outside of that. And the answer is obviously no. So that answers that part of the question.
I got you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Monta. Nick, you're up.
Hi there. So our company is called Travelastic. We provide a SaaS solution for tour operators. So we want to develop a strategy where we're developing content and putting it on things like LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms, creating content so that we can kind of, you know, wave a flag towards tour operators. Do you have any advice, and you could shed some light on kind of how to go about doing that, starting from scratch?
Content Inc. by Joe, Pulizzi, Palazzi, something like that. Content Inc. is the name of the book. That's like a 360 model for exactly what you're talking about. I've found what works for me is creative storytelling. So pretty much a lot of my posts that I go into, and you can repurpose content, right? And Content Inc. will show you how to do all that. But I found for me anyways, I know that I will like crush it on any post if I tell a story that pulls at people's heartstrings, right? So my speaking, it's all true stuff, but there's a way in which you communicate with people to bring them in and solidify that rapport so that they want to know what's happening next. So Content Inc. is going to be way better than what I can do on that. It's like $20 on Amazon. Seriously, go get it like today.
Great, I'll check that out. Content Inc. by Joe. What was the last name?
It's like Palazzi.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if you have questions or you look it up, find me on Facebook or LinkedIn because I can't find you right now. And I'll send you the link to the book, but it's game changing.
Great, thank you very much. I'll send you an invitation now.
Yeah, and it's tactical. It's not like, again, it's not bumper sticker. So you'll get more bang for your buck than you were expecting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna call on somebody that doesn't have their hand up because I know that they have a question and they're shy. So Shahira, I'm gonna make you talk now.
I knew that was me. I knew it. I just knew you were gonna call me. I have a lot of questions. I don't know where to start. That's why I'm kind of just.
Start with the one you're afraid to ask. Let's do it.
Why don't you start by telling her how like Kourtney Kardashian was talking about your product on social media? I mean, that's kind of a cool place to start, I think.
Okay. So my company is called The Dirty Cookie, and what we make are cookies in the shape of a shot glass, and you fill them with different flavors of milk, coffee, and ice cream. And the concept is like started as you drink your milk out of your cookie. Now it's evolved into like Bailey's, Kahlua, marshmallow, you name it.
I love
everybody's
you.
putting. So yeah, that's what I do. We do a lot of parties and catering, and right now I was really listening into the sales part of this conversation because I realized I don't really have a sales team, and it's basically on my own. I've just kind of been reaching out to influencers, and that's how I got the Kourtney Kardashian, is just going through her circle of friends and reaching out to them. Hey, I'll send you a box of my cookies for like a shout out. And that's how I've been doing it for the last 3 years. But now I kind of have to be a little bit more, I don't know, I feel like I have to do a lot more in terms of sales and marketing, or just invest more time in it. And I'm just, I did my first cold calling today for the first time in 3 years. I know, it was really intense. I got over myself and my shyness, as Jean knows, and I just called, and I have a meeting with a company on Friday. So I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this really does work. I just need to dedicate the time to it. So if you have any advice, I know you were mentioning a little bit about how people leave their messages, because I got a couple voicemails, and I don't know what is the best way to really capture someone's attention right away when doing these kind of sales calls. I think that's where I struggle a little bit, because I don't know, I don't have a sales background, but I'm trying. So
you're actually pretty good at it. Just in the way you communicate, because it comes from the heart. I'm not feeling the worst thing salespeople can do, and we're going to go big picture, and then we'll get worst thing salespeople can do is talk. Surprising, I know, because what are we do? We get into sales because we think we're the best talking. But the beauty of sales is we hate to be sold, but we love to buy. So if you can ask them strategic questions, that's going to help you eliminate that confidence. And I'm paraphrasing, but if you know what questions you're going to ask, then the trick is they're going to be doing all the talking. You just use what they say back at them, right? And instinctually, we know this. So my boyfriend freaking loves pizza, right? I can only do so much pizza. But every Friday night he's going to be like, babe, let's go get pizza. So what do? I don't ask him, where do you want to go to eat? I say, hey, how are you doing on your weight loss goals? And he'll be like, I'm kind of doing okay with it. And I'll be like, okay, can you, do you feel like you've eaten pretty healthy throughout the week, or is it time for a cheat night, or do you want to hit the gym? He's like, I don't want to hit the gym, right? Because it's Friday night. Of course he doesn't. Duh. And then I'll say something along the lines of, should we figure out dinner tonight? We could go something greasy, but it's not going to help you. Or there's a discount right now on sushi, and we can eat lighter, especially because we're not going to have the time to work out. And he's going to do all the talking about how much he's failing in his weight loss goals and what he needs to accomplish and how much he doesn't want grease. And then I naturally win, and I don't really need to sell because he sold himself. And that's the difference. So when you you said something very key, and I need to be very clear. So by the way, these 387 pages I wrote on recruiting, you can do the same thing for sales. So you create your sales playbook, right? Athletes, they don't just, their coach, they don't just show up and they'll be like, okay, coach, don't worry about anything. I got this. Let me do it my way. No, the coach tells them exactly step by step what they got to do, and then they go through and they implement. But for some reason, when it comes to sales organizations, what tends to happen, and this is the key, what tends to happen is we're like, oh, the salespeople probably know I shouldn't help. And that's the complete opposite of what you want to do. So you want to figure out, what did you say to the Kardashians to make that happen? What questions did you ask? What was the tonality? And you want to document it so you can replicate it and grow it. And then when you said the one thing, you said a trigger word. So I have things I call trigger words. And a trigger word is how I know that we're about to mess some stuff up for you, right? It triggers me. And so the big thing you said is I have a couple of voicemails. What does your voicemail message sound like? Because it should be designed to sell. So all of you right now, grab a pen, find my phone number. I'll type it in the chat, and you can blow up my phone right now. And I guarantee you, every single one of you that calls and leaves me a voicemail, you will be like, holy crap, I'm changing mine. Why? Because I say it with such a sense of urgency and enthusiasm. Everybody who leaves me a voicemail is like, gosh, I got to talk to this chick. And if you call me, do you think I answer on the first ring?
No.
No, because I'm building perceived value right from that onset of that call.
Wow. Okay.
Our minds just exploded over here, Caitlin.
You guys keep making me feel so smart. Stop it.
So I'm pretty sure you've been talking to my wife with the whole pizza story. So thanks a lot for that.
You're welcome. How's your waistline?
Actually, you know what? It's doing pretty good. I'm down 20-something pounds.
Look at you, stud. Great job.
thanks to the keto diet, actually. But
That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
that's until I go to the Dirty Cookie and I make a trip to Irvine. And then
Seriously, I just looked up their Instagram. I want one. Like, how do we hook this up? I will be in Irvine.
We ship nationwide, so send me your address. I'm actually going to call you to hear your
Yeah, I'll
voicemail,
post the
and then-
crap out of this stuff.
Okay, awesome.
I'll give
that
you a
your
shout
number?
out on LinkedIn for a boozy cookie. This is fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I got you. What else did you have?
Well, just the sales calls was like something very new to me, and I'm starting to do that right now. Specifically because we don't have a lot of marketing budget to work with. That's why I'm like, I know there's other ways to do it. But I don't know any other like sales tactics other than calling or like dropping off samples when you're on a tight marketing budget. Not really sure.
I mean, the voicemail is going to change the game for you. If you're getting that many callbacks, that's going to be a great thing for you. I have to cough. Hold on.
Okay.
You know, dropping off samples is great. I love the way your Instagram is growing. Have you thought about finding affiliates who can, like, you know, strategic ones who could maybe blog about it, or, you know, the why behind your brand, right? So everybody loves the Dirty Cookie. Like, I'm obsessed with it, and I haven't even had one, right? But I almost wonder, like, is there a why behind it that you could sell on? Like, if we sell like 400 cookies today, I'll give 20% off to a charity, you know, something like that. That really helps feed into the purpose. And you said you have that already?
I don't, it's in my head. I don't know how to get it out on paper. And that's, that it's just like, I have a lot of things I'm very passionate about. I just don't know which one to really put my like brand behind, and which would make sense, because I've been getting pulled in all different directions. Like I already work with a nonprofit that feeds the homeless in Orange County. I mean, I'm always supporting them, but I'm really passionate about like education and giving people access to education. So I'm trying to come up with my
story. How many things do you think you're passionate about? Just play along. Think 10.
Yeah.
Max. Could you try for 12? Could you find 12 things you're passionate about? Watch this. Hypothetically, you find 12 things you're passionate about. You outsource to India or the Philippines. You create a newsletter. These are things like recipes, influencers who've, you know, talk about the Kardashians and how much fun they had eating your cookie, whatever. And then talk about, like, save one page. And it doesn't have to be a thick newsletter. It can be a one pager. And then what you do is you also include the charity of the month. And you put that in coffee shops. You put that all around, you know, the Irvine area, shopping malls, et cetera. You can hand it out. You can rent a food truck, go to like a big corporate office building, and everybody who goes out gets 50% off a cookie, and the rest of the 50% goes to a charity. And you can funnel it like that. So it's just a simple little flyer. You can put them in airports, because you ship nationwide. Wouldn't that be great to be sitting and be like, oh, look, the Dirty Cookie. Let me read about the charity they're supporting this month. So every month has like a theme. I don't know. I'm just.
No, this is great. No, this is great. I didn't even think of that.
But like for myself, it's true. Like I got booked for a keynote in, oh crap, when is it? It's at the end of Thanksgiving, November 28th, 7th, 8th, whatever, something around there. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw out a ridiculous price and see how they respond, right? So I did. And they were like, oh, Kaylin, I don't know if that's for us. And I was like, well, it's not for me either. Let me tell you about this charity I support. And I went into the like emotional pull of this charity. And I was like, it's fine if it's not for you. I pay my medical bills and then I help this charity because it's important for me, for terminally ill cystic fibrosis patients, to get athletic scholarship. Now I can cut you a deal, but we're going to cut it out of the charity fund, unfortunately, because I still have to pay my own bills. And it was just like a done deal. And then I upsold books. So like when you have that emotional pull to that relevant story, I think Feeding Homeless, that's amazing because you're a food company. So you understand the importance of nourishment. And although you're like you sell a luxury food, you know, if they don't eat your food, they're not going to die. But that's where it gave you focus and meaning, is through these affluent people who can afford to spend $12 or whatever it is on a cookie. Imagine if they just add an extra $1 at the register to go back to the charity to help feed local homeless shelters. Something like that.
Hey, Hey, Shahira, there was something you shared with me the other day, and I know it's sensitive, so we don't have to talk about it on this call, but maybe something you can share with Kaylin offline and get her opinion on it as well, because I think she can give you some about the fundraise is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that it would be really good. So if you don't mind, Kaylin, she has a...
You have my number.
Yeah, I'll call you. Okay, thank you.
I should give you guys a Calendly link because I can only imagine the foot and the mouth that I might have done. Let me send you a Calendly, and you guys all got to register, and I'll give you guys all like a free half-hour call.
Sounds amazing.
And also, I think that one of the biggest issues, Shahira, for you personally is confidence, right? Like it really is. Like she went to the event that we had in La Jolla. You know we did that event in La Jolla, right, Kaylin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she went down there and pitched and killed it. I mean, the guys were like vultures all around her. I mean, $1 million in sales, and she has an amazing product. She showed the product, gave it out to everybody. I felt like I was really on an episode of Shark Tank. She absolutely killed it. So it's just about confidence, right?
It is. I know. I don't know why I was very challenged with that growing up, and now I'm trying to get over it because my business relies on it, like the success of my business. So I'm getting better. I'm improving, but I do need a boost of confidence. That's for sure.
So I just wrote a blog on this, and it's called 3 Ways to Practice Self-Love. So I actually went back and I got my general practitioner's license in neurolinguistic programming, and I'm on my way to getting my master's in it because of things like that, right? So if we look at, like my body in itself, and this is more for the women than the men, you're welcome, men. But, like I'm 5'5", I don't have a flat belly. The belly I do have has tons of surgery marks on it. I've got a port that like is hanging out of my chest. Like I get that I'm pretty, but like you strip away the clothing and there's some cellulite, there's some flab, I'm slightly overweight. I have a distended belly. I don't control necessarily my stomach, so that's not sexy. And so and I cough all the time. Like coughing in itself is not an attractive thing. And we take all that back, and then I'm like, oh crap, I don't have a college degree, so that sucks. So maybe I'm not as smart as anybody else. I'm working with millionaires and billionaires, and I'm like, a thousandaire. So like that's not happening either. But what was interesting to me is as I really started this journey of confidence, it came down to self-love and the appreciation. And there's things called meaning reframes and context reframes. And context reframes are like, okay, so you've got a kid, and the kid's, it's a daughter hypothetically, and the daughter's always like, she's throwing tantrums, she's not behaving, she's stubborn, she's getting into trouble at school. And it's like, oh my goodness, how do I deal with this kid, right? But then you realize, that's not stubborn, that's headstrong. And how great is it that the parent has somehow taught her how to be so headstrong? And you look at what that parent has accomplished in life, maybe they're a CEO, an executive, or they just had a killer pitch and had a bunch of guys around them trying to give them $1 million. Like that's headstrong. And so there's a way to reframe confidence, the way we internalize confidence to say, hey, I may have a distended belly, but that means I lose a lot of weight compared to all the calories I shove in my mouth because I can't really digest food. And so it's little practices of the context reframe. So, and it all comes down to self-love. So I'm going to shoot you over a blog that'll help you with the 3 components of self-love.
So those of you, by the way, that we have a thing, a thread on our Slack group about books to read. So Kaylin, if you could share your book as well, the link to your book, I think most people would like to read that as well. So I really recommend, purchasing her book as well if you guys get a chance.
Yeah, it's like $12 this month, so like you can afford not to.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right. And then the next person I'm going to call on as well, who joined us a little bit late, but I really want her to tell her story. Is who I'm calling on? Stephanie. You got to tell your story as well. Are you there?
And mute it. There we go. Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, so
can you hear me? Yes.
First of all, I'm getting feedback. Am I on speakerphone?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? It's because I'm on my phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm gonna mute while I talk. Okay, I'm just gonna mute you while I talk. So anyways, I wanted to tell you about Stephanie. The reason why I call on is because she has an absolutely incredible story about her company as well, which is also a food company. She has a hot sauce. Her family owns a couple restaurants, and they created this hot sauce, and they've sold about 16,000 bottles. And I'm gonna let you, Stephanie, tell your story of what you've done with the profits from that, because it's absolutely amazing. So all right, you're
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, basically, when I was younger, my grandfather would pick me up from school, and it was just a routine to go to the liquor store and buy a lottery ticket because he said he always wanted to put an old home for the elderly in Michoacan. I was about 9 years old when that happened. I told him, like, not to worry, that I was going to put one for him. You know, I always had that in the back of my mind, and I always had a very soft heart for, like, helping the elderly. So when I started doing the hot sauce, I
Stephanie, we're losing
my heart because there was these elderly that were sleeping on cartons on the, cardboard on the sidewalk. I ended up sending, blankets to them that first night to cover them, and I started working with them to get them inside of, I rented a room for them to sleep, and I've been paying their rent for a couple of years, helping them with medicine, everything like that, and I've been doing that through the profits of the Picante Primo, just because, people forget. I feel people forget about the elderly, and we're all going to get there one day. I've lived through, like, a lot of things. I've seen, like, people that the kids take everything that they have, that, the people become too sick or too old to work, and they can't fend for themselves, just like kids can't fend for themselves. So through the profits of the hot sauce, I've just been, trying to help as many elders as I can by either putting a roof on their head and everything like that.
So I'll mute you because we're getting feedback again. But just so you know, karma, I guess, or something. This Christmas season, they are actually talking to her that Snoop Dogg's, yes, I said Snoop Dogg. Yeah, his manager is actually talking about putting into all of their holiday gift baskets hot sauce, which will be going to Snoop Dogg and several other very, very high profile clients as well. So Stephanie, you're muted, by the way. I didn't want to hear the feedback, but
yeah.
That's awesome. Great job.
Thank you. I'm really excited. I mean, I told Gene when I was telling him about this story, it was just something that has always, I've always done it since I was a little girl, taking them food, and I just feel like, nobody really cares for them. And I've seen, personally, in my family, I've seen neglect with my own grandparents, and I'm like, man, if we weren't here, maybe it would be my grandparents, and it would break my heart to see my grandparents, struggling in that way. So it's, for the people that are unfortunate enough to have somebody care for them, I've been lucky enough to be able to do it through the hot sauce, and Cashmere, that agency, contacted me, and I'm super excited about, being able to do that for them.
I'm so proud of you, girl.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question for you again, Stephanie. So basically, one of the things that we've been talking about is as far as her marketing strategy, right? I'm saying I was basically, and I want to get your opinion on this as well. I'm saying, hey, you should definitely be using that in all your marketing techniques.
Yeah, you should.
I was like, she doesn't have a way to tell the story yet, but I thought we could print out little hang tags and put them on all the bottles so that when they get handed out, they have the little story. And she was thinking about maybe going down there. But Stephanie, you're going to have to be careful because I don't want you. There's some issues with cartels in that area in particular. Ooh. So I'm saying, hey, be safe. But she wants to go down there and take some pictures of showing, the location that she has set up, the actual gentleman that she's actually helped, literally, save their lives. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that as well. How she can sort of because of course she's doing it out of the good of her own heart, but at the same time, I think this is something she should try to capitalize on as well, right?
Yeah, because it's not. I don't even view it as capitalization, right? Because you're doing good in the world, and people look at my face right now. I love good deeds, right? And everybody does. That's the thing that yeah. And maybe if you're not going down there, do they have access to technology? Can you set up an interview where you have an intern that's a quality assurance person say, hey, I'd like to get your feedback on stuff. What kind of an impact have we had on you? And just let that person talk like a Zoom, like what we're doing now. And you record it, you splice it up, and that becomes a future ad in the future. And you add some inspirational music and say like, hey, here's some of the impact we've done, and of all things, through hot sauce. And it's amazing what a company can do when they care, and you tell the stories. And maybe you go there face to face. I don't have that answer, but it could just be simply like, okay, Jean, so you and I are talking right now, right? And everybody's listening in. And I would say like, Jean, can you tell me a little bit about the impact that I personally have had on your life? And you're going to say 3 to 5 sentences, and they're going to be amazing. And I'm recording all of this, and I'm going to take the answer to your question and put it into a video. And then I'm going to put that video on YouTube. And then I could put that organically through Facebook. I could pay for an ad, and I could be like, hot sauce changes lives, or however we word it, right? Like that is not finesse. But fast forward, Jean, that's actually what I did with your testimonial video, is I put it on YouTube, and I'm creating an ad out of it, about like how we can inspire and change lives together, because together we all win. And it's not BS. It's not like I'm trying to capitalize on that for money. It's because like there was a profound impact that shook you to your core enough to excite change in your life, and Stephanie, it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. So I think it's great.
Oh, she's muted. Sorry, Stephanie, I muted you because of the echo. Oops, hang on. All right, you can talk now. Sorry. Are you there, Stephanie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Oh,
Okay.
there's no more echo. Yay.
Yay. No, so basically I'm gonna go down to Mexico. It's where my parents were born and raised. Just like I was telling Jean to do like a little video. I do it once a year that I go check up on them and see how they're doing. And, they'll usually tell me of another elder or something that's in need, and I'll go see how I can help them in that way. And also the slogan is derived from the town I'm from in Mexico. So it's my other thing was I was gonna just record a bunch of the taco guys saying the slogan, do you want some hot sauce on that cousin, obviously in Spanish.
I love it. You should.
Yeah, so it's hopefully, once I get over there, I'm gonna see if I can find somebody that can keep on recording for me, that, like you said, that has, quality, that'll do quality recordings for me. But that's my basic plan right now for the sales technique.
Yeah, it's a great technique. There's a selfie stick called Smooth. I haven't figured out how to use it yet, but I do have it.
Okay.
And you can just hold it, and it stabilizes. So if you're going like this with your phone's only showing people this, right? Kind of trippy.
Uh-huh.
I think it's like $150, Smooth, SMOVE. And you could even
Okay,
be having the interviews with your selfie stick. Technology is great.
Awesome.
It's actually a not just a selfie stick. It's a Steadicam, actually.
Yeah, a stabilization cam or something like that.
So
I'm gonna have to get that
Steadicam is
before
what
I
they
go.
use that's what they use in Hollywood, and it's like a phone version of that. That's how, like, when they're recording a video, like, and they're walking, it doesn't look like this the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They use that technology, and they found a way to make it small. And I've seen. I don't have one, but I've seen it, and suppose it works really well. So.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Josh said he's a videographer, and he says the Smooth is honestly amazing. So
There you go.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to order it before I go to Mexico then.
Yeah, it's like $150, and if I haven't figured out how to use it yet, but like on Instagram, it looked really cool.
Awesome. I'm definitely gonna do that, and then the main reason of doing this, I want to put it on a website where people can start ordering online the hot sauce.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so that's my main plan. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You did this all yourself. I didn't say anything on this one. This was all you.
Thank you. I'm still gonna schedule a call because I want to hear your input.
I got you.
Yes.
awesome. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Well, does anybody else? We're running a little short on time, but does anybody else have any last minute feedback or questions that they want to ask before we wrap it up? No? Okay. Awesome. Well, then I just want to say thank you so much, Kaylin, for coming on and doing this. This was incredible. And by the way, many of you guys don't know this, but it was I'm just going to tell you a little story here, Kaylin, for the first time. This is your first time hearing this. So we were at Dan and Kate's house in Temecula.
Yeah.
And we were all talking, and I think if I remember right, you said something along the lines of like, man, I got all these jobs, I got all this business and stuff going on. I'm not happy. And I think you're the reason why I actually started this incubator, or one of the reasons why I started this incubator, was because you were like, look, you got to do what makes you happy, and like finding the true self and that kind of stuff. We had a little chat about it. So once again, as I said, guys, Caitlin is amazing. Thank you so much I think everybody enjoyed this. And yeah, so thank you so much, and have a great night.
Yeah, I'm honored, you guys, and I've got your back. So like I said, everybody gets a free half-hour call. Yeah, and I appreciate all of you. And of course, Gene, anything you need, you know, I've always got you. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Karen.